everyone, so I'm finally filming my 2 p.m. collection video. So I promised this for a while now, and I kept putting it off because 2 p.m. just keeps releasing things nonstop despite their current group hiatus. I finally decided that after Juno released his 6th Japanese mini album, I was going to actually film this video and share with you guys what my 2 p.m. collection looks like. And I'm hoping that this will be more of a resource for anyone who wants to start collecting 2 p.m. because I know, especially here on YouTube, there's not too many 2 p.m. collections that you could reference to. So down in the description, I actually included a copy of what my collection spreadsheet looks like just for 2 p.m. In that spreadsheet, you'll see what things are present in this particular video, and when I upload this, what things are also available that I do not own currently. Because despite how many things I do own, I still am missing quite a bit. So I'm going to start off with the Korean discography, which I'm sure is the most familiar for most of you guys. And everything's ordered chronologically. So starting in the upper left corner, you have their first 2 physical singles they released as a group, followed by their first full-length Korean album, 1:59 p.m. Then you have Don't Stop, Can't Stop, which was their last Korean single they released, and Still 2 p.m., which is the only mini album they've ever released before. So everything on the left-hand side is what I consider kind of old school 2 p.m. And I feel like now moving to Hands Up, which is in the top center, this was sort of a shift in their music, especially because you have a lot more member participation in the song lyric writing. So Hands Up was probably their most popular release. There were 2 different versions you could get for this album, and this sort of was the start of 2 p.m. releasing what's called the Grand Edition. So these are the limited editions. So the Grand Edition had a deluxe photo book, and it also came with a calendar, while the regular version just came with the CD and the standard photo book. So when it comes to choosing the regular edition versus the Grand Editions for their more recent discography, it's a little harder to find a lot of the Grand Editions because they're out of print and out of stock everywhere. But if you use Japanese proxy sites, oftentimes you could find pretty decent prices for used Grand Editions. So if you are a big 2 p.m. collector, I'm going to be stressing in this video that Japanese proxy sites are a must if you want to collect any of their harder to find things. So after their Hands Up album, they had a best of album, so called 2 p.m.'s Member Selection. So this was an album release where the members chose their favorite Korean songs for Hottest. And they also had included a few new songs that were never released physically, such as Junkei's Alive single, which was released digitally before this, as well as Junho's and Wooyoung's unit song called Move. Now moving on to Grown, which was their 3rd full-length Korean album. Again, you could get either the Grand Edition or the regular edition, but this time there was 2 different regular editions to choose from. So version A, which I have on top, or version B. So version B is pretty cool. I'm gonna pull it up here. This had the, I guess, more sexy photo shoot, which went with ADTOY, and the cover is what's really cool because it has this this kind of heat sensitive cover. So if you put your hand on it, it leaves a handprint and shows the image. And then below this is the Taiwanese version. So for all the Taiwanese press versions, this is the only one that came with a different photo card than what was provided in the Korean edition. So this is now pretty hard to find since these did come with photo cards. But this comes with a DVD, which has just the teasers, I think, and the music video. for this release, as well as the CD, and the photo book is sort of a fusion of versions A and B. And now that gold box is the Grand Edition for Grown, which if you were to consider owning any of the versions for Grown, the Grand Edition is definitely the one to purchase. Mostly because it comes with an extra CD. So on that CD, they have a lot of solo songs from all the members, as well as the group song called Call My Name, which they made a special little music video for. So moving on to the upper right corner, you have their Go Crazy album. So this is their fourth full-length Korean album. And again, you have the choice of buying either the Grand Edition, which is on the left, or the regular edition. So what was cool about the regular edition this time was that they came with member-specific CD plates. So to show you which member I got Chansung's. So the CD plate looked like this. And what's nice about this Grand Edition for Go Crazy was that it also came with a bonus disc. And on that bonus disc, there were member unit songs. And so this is the studio version of the songs they performed at their Go Crazy tour. And then below Go Crazy, you have the horrific packaging of number 5. So arguably, this along with Grown are my favorite albums from 2PM. So the packaging, in theory, was pretty cool to have this plastic sort of door knob glued on to the front of the album, but practically it didn't really work out. If you own this album, you know what I mean. And then their last Korean album that they released as a group was Gentleman's Game. And so I have 4 different versions here. So this tall box is the Grand Edition. So this edition came with a slightly thicker photo book, though the photo book is very similar to what was in the regular edition, which is the signed copy I have there below that. And to show you the Grand Edition really quickly, it's pretty cool because it opens up and it presents the disc sort of like a present. And below the disc is the photo book, which has a member-specific poster slipcase. So you could, if you wanted to, you could also take off the slipcase, and on the other side is a full-size poster. So I have the Taiwanese press edition for this album as well, but honestly it's not that much different from the regular edition. I bought this because it came with a photo card, and I wasn't sure if it was a different type of photo card, but it's the same image as the photo cards from the regular edition. And then there's also a vinyl LP edition, which was released a few months after the CD version was released. And so this is just a really nice collector's edition thing to own. And it also works as an actual vinyl LP if you have one of those turntables. So moving on to their Japanese group discography. What I have in front of you are all of their singles they released, and all the versions I have of them currently. So I'm missing a few more of the jewel case editions for a couple of these, but overall I have most of their Japanese singles in this frame. And I've also ordered these chronologically from left to right. So their debut in Japan was Take Off, which you watch anime, you may be familiar with Blue Exorcist. So that was one of the ending credit songs featured in that anime. And I'm missing a few additions for that. They even have a Blue Exorcist OST version, which I've been meaning to get my hands on, but I just haven't purchased one yet. And then after Takeoff, they have I'm Your Man, which they released first in Japan as this Japanese single, but they also have a Korean version on their Go Crazy album. And this packaging for these Japanese singles are very consistent. So they usually come out with these CD, DVD, digipacks, which are the larger albums you see here that are not in jewel cases. So on the DVD, they usually have just music videos. And it's worth noting also that the DVDs are region 2, so you need to have a compatible DVD player in order to watch these. And then along with the digipack, they often release a regular edition, And they also have a deluxe regular edition for their first 3 Japanese singles. So for Take Off, I'm Your Man, and Ultra Lover. The jewel case they have for those actually come with a rather thick photo book, which is why I'm calling them the deluxe CD only version. So with these digipacks, you don't get a lot of photo books. You only get a couple of photos, maybe 1 for each member. So I think, especially for these first 3 singles, it might be worth getting these, I guess, deluxe CD only versions. But again, they only did this for the first 3 Japanese singles. And then the rest of the singles are just regular editions with sort of the standard photo books you see in most Japanese singles. And there are a few kind of inconsistencies with packaging that I'll go through. So for Masquerade, you'll see that there's 2 different digipack versions. So there's 2 different photo versions basically, but they contain the same songs. It's just the DVD content's a little different. Same with Give Me Love, Guilty Love, and Go Crazy Japan. And the other inconsistency with their packaging is for Winter Games, there's 2 different regular editions. So one is just the regular CD version with the same songs as the digipack version. And then one of the jewel cases has an extra song on it. And so all of those singles pre-hire are all songs that you can actually own if you buy their full-length Japanese albums. So owning these Japanese single versions is not really a must if you're only collecting these for music purposes. I'm also going to get into what's called a box set a little bit more later in this video when I talk about solos, but their group Japanese singles and a few of their Japanese full-length albums could be purchased as a box set, meaning you buy all the editions in this little package. I only have a box set packaging for their group stuff for Guilty Love. So this is the box, the physical box for the box set for Guilty Love. So it's basically just this clear plastic folder you could buy, and like on your shelf you could put all 3 versions. So the 2 digipack versions and the CD only regular version. So they all could be conveniently fit here in this box. Personally, I don't really collect the box sets for their Japanese singles or group albums. I only collect the box sets for their solo stuff, which I'll get into during that part of the video. And now with Higher and their Promise I'll Be single, they sort of changed how they did the packaging. So they still have the CD, DVD, and digipacks for both these single releases, but they started releasing member-specific CDs. So for Higher, they were released as jewel cases with specific member covers. But what's special about these and why you may consider buying all 6 versions is because there are member solo songs that are only released on these member limited editions. And you can't find these songs anywhere else other than on these limited editions. And then with their last Japanese single, Promise I'll Be, again, they released member-specific versions, but there's no new song content on these. They're just, I guess, a nicer packaging, and that it's not a jewel case, but a digipack. And there's only like 2 to 3 pictures of each specific member in these, so honestly, packaging-wise, they're not that interesting. All right, here are all of the full-length Japanese albums that I currently have in my collection, and I am missing a few different versions, mostly the regular jewel case versions and a couple of version Bs. For the most part, their full-length albums have fairly consistent packaging, as we've seen with their singles. And one of the things I really appreciate about 2PM's Japanese discography is how much effort they put in to releasing original Japanese content instead of just remaking their already known Korean songs, but into Japanese versions. So they did do that a little bit with their earlier stuff, and a few singles. So their first Japanese full-length album is Republic of 2PM, which is on the upper left, and so there are two different limited versions you could buy. So there's a version A and a version B, and both of them come with different DVD content and photo book content. Typically, the best versions to get for these are the version Bs, and that's mostly because you get a thicker photo book. And with the exception of Republic of 2PM, usually version B comes with a bonus CD that features solo songs from all the members. And as I mentioned when I was showing their Japanese singles, a lot of the singles that you could buy are actually contained on these full-length albums. So for example, the Republic of 2PM contains their debut, Take Off, as well as Ultra Lover and I'm Your Man. And the subsequent albums after that would contain whatever singles were put out before the full-length album was released. So typically 2 to 3 singles would be put onto these full-length albums. I'm also going to link a website I like to refer to when it comes to knowing what songs are on all these different editions. And so I'll have that linked in the description. If you're curious about which version contains which songs or what DVD content is on which version, definitely refer to that website. So going in chronological order, you have Republic of 2PM, and I have the version A and B stacked on top of one of each other. Their second full-length album was Legend of 2PM, and I only own version A right now. I do have a version B that contains solo tracks, but most of the solo tracks are actually tracks they released either on their Grown Korean album or some solo albums they released prior to that release, or even following up that release. And then Genesis of 2PM was their third full-length Japanese album, which I have both versions. So version A on top there and version B below it. And I think out of all of their Japanese albums, Genesis of 2PM may be my favorite, though that might be in part because a lot of my favorite Japanese singles were on there. But the new songs they brought onto that album were also very enjoyable. And then on the upper right, you have 2PM of 2PM. So right now I just have version A, so I am missing version B, which contains with all the solo songs. But I do have the repackage. So starting with 2PM of 2PM, they were putting out a repackage of the full-length album in box form. So in the box, they would have all the same songs as version A for these albums, plus one new track. So in this case, for 2PM of 2PM repackage, they included the song I Know, which is a ballad song. And they also included some live concert footage as a bonus DVD, along with a photo book containing that concert footage. And the concert footage for that repackage is actually pretty special, since it was taken from their 2015 Japanese fan meeting. And that's when the 2PM members actually swapped solo songs and performed other members' solo songs for their stages. It's pretty cool, actually, if you haven't seen those yet. And then their most recent full-length Japanese album, Galaxy of 2PM, are all the additions I have there at the bottom. So I have the jewel case version, version A, which is the CD DVD version, and it also contains a nice photo book. And then the three ones I have in the middle there are the limited unit versions. So what's special about these versions is that unit songs are only available physically on those specific member unit editions. They're on the far lower right, and this is similar to what they did for 2PM the 2PM repackage, in that they took all the songs from version A and then added a new song called Milky Way Galaxy, which is a really beautiful ballad. It's one of my favorite ballads, actually, that Woo Young wrote. And the DVD content they stuck on there were all the member solo stages during their 6 Higher Days concert. So there's about, I want to say, there's around 5 different stages per member. So I wanted to also briefly mention some collaboration things that 2PM has done. mostly with 2AM and for JYP Nation. So 2PM along with 2AM released the Japanese single One Day. This was released in a similar format as 2PM's Japanese singles. So you have the CD, DVD, digipack on the top there. And then all the member specific versions are just specific member covers. So I have all of them for all 2PM members and also for all the 2AM members. And then the JYP Nation One Mic release. So this was actually a photo book CD that you could buy. So on the CD were the collaboration songs that were performed at the 2014 JYP Nation. So there's a few with some 2PM members on there. And then the Mix and Match JYP Nation photo book. This is just a photo book with 2PM along with the other groups and soloists who performed at JYP Nation in 2016 in Korea. And so all of the photo books I have laid out here are ones they released in Korea. So you have some pamphlets from events, like the fan meeting one from 2014 on the lower left. And then you have concert brochures released for their concerts, such as the House Party one, and the one next to that, which was released for JYP Nation 2016. And then This Is For My Hottest, so that's a photo book they released with some behind the scenes from their Don't Stop, Can't Stop tour they had. It also comes with a DVD. And then you have the book, which is on the upper left, and their Omnipotence, which is on the upper right. So both of those are more classical photo books. The book is more of a editorial sort of photo book with them modeling and Calvin Klein clothes, while Omnipotence is more of an avant-garde artsy sort of photo shoot. Lastly, on the lower right, you have the Gentleman's Game monograph. So they released this after their sixth full-length Korean album, and it just has some more photos from their Gentleman's Game photo shoot and promos. And it also comes with a DVD as well. And out of all these photo books, I would say the book is probably the hardest one to obtain. You definitely need to use some sort of proxy site to find copies. And they're generally pretty marked up because this was their earliest photo book, probably one of my favorite ones too, for reasons. And then other than that, some of their concert brochure photo books are harder to obtain as well. But again, with the use of Japanese proxy sites, finding these things is much easier nowadays. Now these next set of photo books are all ones you could purchase at their Japanese concerts. And I'm missing quite a few, so definitely refer to my spreadsheet if you're curious about what other ones are available. And so all these, I would say, are not created equal. When it comes to the images, I think 2PM of 2PM from their 2015 arena tour is probably my favorite. I also really like their Galaxy of 2PM making photo book, which is the small one there. So that just has a lot of nice images from the actual concert. The only kind of, I guess, flaw with that one is it is smaller. It has a lot more pages, but the page quality and texture is subpar compared to the glossier photos from these other photo books. And then for the 600 Days photo book, that one is filled with a lot of interviews. So if you don't read Japanese, there's not too many photos in there to compensate for all the interviews that go in there. And then the Emotion photo book, I flipped through this in one of my proxy site hauls. Just has a lot of images of the 2PM members conveying different emotions. So it's a very short photo book. It's a little cheesy, if I were to be honest. And some of the crying photos are a little sad. So concert brochures, I think, are always kind of fun to have. And again, you'll need Japanese proxy sites to get your hands on these. So now for Kareem DVDs, I have all of their concert DVDs on the left-hand side, excluding their most recent 6 Nights concert DVD. So that one should be arriving sometime in the next few weeks. since it was just released. But I have 5 of their concert DVDs here, starting with their Don't Stop, Can't Stop tour on the far upper left, then their Hands Up Asian tour, What Time Is It tour, Go Crazy World Tour in Seoul, and then their House Party. So for 2PM concert DVDs, I'm pretty sure that they only just do one run for these things. So once they go out of stock, it's hard to find new copies for these. And out of all of these, their House Party one is probably the hardest 2PM thing to find. And so this is both for Korean sites and their Japanese proxy sites. It's just hard to find even for a used copy at a decent price. You do see them on proxy sites, but they tend to go for about $200, which is a rather large markup for how much these originally cost. And their Go Crazy one is starting to get almost as expensive as their House Party. So I've only seen that available on a couple of Korean websites for a good price, but I've been seeing it a bit marked up on Japanese proxy sites. The other 3 DVDs though, even though they're out of print and hard to find, usually new, you can find these for a pretty good price on Japanese proxy sites. And now the 2 things on the right hand side are their hottest fan meeting DVDs. So their 2014 one, where they're in school uniforms, came with that standee on the upper right. And these are all English subtitled. I think they're region all, or at least region 1, region 3. And just owning these, I think, is fun because 2PM are known for their variety, and they're just a bunch of hilarious guys, so it's always fun to see them interact with each other and to their fans for those fan meeting DVDs. Of those 2, their 2015 fan meeting DVD, with when they're all suited up in basketball uniforms, that one's still fairly easy to find. Their 2014 one is getting out of stock most places, so that one I think may be more difficult to find in the near future. Now for Japanese DVDs, my collection is rather lacking when it comes to group ones, what you see here. I only own 3 of their Japanese group concerts, so 6 Beautiful Days, and their most recent one, 2PM in the Tokyo Dome, which I actually have as a Blu-ray, since I think they started with Galaxy at 2PM, but their limited editions of their concerts for the Blu-ray had similar packaging to the DVD limited editions, because before the Blu-ray was just like the regular DVD without the fancy packaging or a photo book. And the DVD I have there to the far left is one of the first DVDs that was released in Japan. And so this contains all of their older Korean music videos. What's also cool about that compilation and DVD is that it also contains a lot of their earlier CF ads that you could view in DVD format. So that was kind of fun to go through. So I decided to pair their Japanese fan club private photo books and DVDs with 2PM Season's Greetings, mostly because for their private photo books, which you see on top there, those were all made during their Season's Greetings photo shoot, and so they're related. I have the second one there on the upper left, and that corresponds to their 2016 Season's Greetings, which I don't own at this moment in time. So it comes with a photo book, which is similar to the making or the artist's making books. And then the one to the right of that is their private photo book 3. And so this is the same location as their 2017 Season's Greetings there. And the 2 Season's Greetings I own is the 2017 one, which is to the left. And then to the right is their new one, their 2018 Season's Greetings. And the reason why I felt like I needed to include these in this video is because they do both contain DVD content, which I think are worth watching. So especially the 2018 one they just released, they have scenes for each member, to focus on sort of their day off. And there's some short interviews and just a lot of fun content on those. Okay, so now we're going to get into solo stuff. I'm going to start with Juno because he's released the most solo content out of all the members. And what I have in frame right now is only containing his Korean stuff and his first 3 Japanese mini albums. So I'll go through these and then we'll get to his other stuff in a bit. Starting with his Korean stuff, at the top left corner, he came out with his compilation album called One. So One was a release he had prior to his first solo concert in Seoul. And it comprised of the Korean versions of songs from his first 3 Japanese releases, which you see here. In the jewel case to the right is the Japanese edition of this Korean compilation album. So it has the same exact track list as the Korean version, except it had a bonus track containing Juno's solo version of Nobody Else, which was one of 2PM songs from their number 5 album. And the album below that, Canvas, was his official Korean debut mini album. This mini album mostly comprised of Korean versions of his Japanese songs from DSMN and 2017 SS, which I'll show later. It did have one new track, which was a duet with another artist. Moving on to his Japanese stuff. So he debuted with Kimi no Koi, which I have there on the lower left. And the packaging for this is slightly different than his subsequent releases in Japan, but it does have a box set, which I'll explain now. So for all of 2PM solo stuff, I mentioned that with group things, their singles and some of their albums have box sets, but when it comes to member solo box sets, they all follow the same structure. So you have a version A, which is the version that contains the CD with usually 5 songs on it. And it also contains a DVD with music videos and some behind the scenes making of footage. And then the other version the box set contains is a version B. And so this version B is considered the limited CD version in that it contains the same 5 tracks that version A had, but it often includes 3 bonus tracks that are not on any other version for this album. And then the last part that makes up the box set is the regular version. So that typically contains the base 5 songs and then usually the instrumental. So the box set, so the group of 4 you see there in the lower corner, the upper left box is the actual container for the box set. This album to the right, which has the green sticker, is version A. And then below that, with the more tan sticker, is version B. And then to the left of that is the regular version with the blue sticker. And then his second mini album released in Japan is Feel. So I have all those editions arranged in the center there. And what he started doing was he, in addition to the box set, which follows the same format, Juno was releasing these limited edition LP-sized CD versions. So this is sort of like Super Junior's Mr. Simple LP-sized packaging in that you get LP-sized cards, and then instead of a vinyl LP, you just get the regular CD inside that packaging. So it's kind of a fun addition to own, especially for displaying purposes. But you can obtain the box set, which I own there, or any of the individual versions. And again, it follows the same format. You have the CD DVD version A, limited CD version B, and then the regular CD version. You see the pink jewel case version, so that's the regular CD version, but what I have stacked on top of there is the Korean edition for Feel. So he started releasing for his fans Korean versions of some of the songs from his Japanese solo work. And moving on to his third full-length album, So Good. Again, this follows the same format as Feel, in that you have the LP-sized version of So Good, and then you could also buy the box set, or individual versions A, B for the regular. Now here are his 3 other Japanese mini albums he released. DSMN contains an LP-sized version. So the CD that's in the LP-sized version contains the 5 bass songs, but it does include 1 bonus track, which was a little different than before. And for the box set, again, you have version A, B, and the regular version, all following the same format as his prior releases. And then his last summer mini album, 2017 SS, he changed up the format slightly of these releases. So the box set was released initially, and then about a month later, the LP-sized version was released. The box set, again, contains version A, B, and the regular version. And to reiterate where to buy these box sets, since I forgot to mention that again when I was talking about them for his earlier Japanese releases, but you can only buy these box sets where you buy the 3 jewel case versions together in that box on Sony Music Japan. So any other website that sells his music, like Amazon Japan, CD Japan, Yes Asia, you won't be finding the box set being sold. You can only buy these versions individually. But going back to 2017 SS, he released all the jewel case versions first, and then a month later, the LP-sized version was released. So this was again an LP-sized packaging with the CD containing the base 5 tracks found on the previous versions. What was different about this repackage was that concert footage from his last Hyper Night tour that he performed a year prior was on here. So that made this, I think, a bit more desirable to purchase, the LP-sized package, since I think concert footage is always very much worth buying. And now for his most recent Japanese mini album, Winter Sleep, my 3 copies just arrived, and I didn't buy the box set since I usually buy the secondhand, and I haven't purchased those yet. But I have version A, B, and the regular edition stacked there on the far right. And what was different about this release is that, again, he was going to delay releasing the LP-sized repackaged edition. And so that's not going to contain any new songs, and it's also not going to contain any concert footage. But the packaging is supposed to be pretty cool since the cover is lenticular, apparently. And the other unique thing about Winter Sleep was that a fan club edition was released. So this edition was something they started doing with Woo Young's albums, which I'll talk about later. But the fan club edition comes with the 5 bass tracks found on the CD only version, but it does contain a bonus track with a live version of his song Fine, which was first released on 2017 SS. And on that fan club edition, you could also it also comes with a different DVD with some exclusive content on there. So here I have laid out all of Juno's concert brochures and artist making photo books from his concerts. So I am missing a couple, which I've noted on that spreadsheet I've linked in the description. But these are all arranged chronologically, starting with Feel on the upper left hand corner. And not all these brochures are the same length or contain the same sort of content. So to mention briefly, the 4 large brochures that are arranged towards the left, so from Feel, Last Night, under a couple of the photo books is Hyper, and then to the right of that is Last Hyper Night. So those 4 are much larger than artist making photo books, and typically you could buy these during his concert at the show. And these usually contain similar images to his trading cards that are sold at the venue, or shots that are similar to some of the recorded VCR footage that will appear during his show. And when it comes to thickness, I would say of those four, the Last Hyper Night tour is much thinner than the other three. It's very similar to the photo books on the far right, so The Last Night in Seoul and Canvas. So both of those two were released in Korea, and they're very thin, and these are much harder to obtain, especially on Japanese proxy sites, since this was a more limited Korean event. Though styling wise, I feel like those are some of my favorites from this whole bunch. And then moving on to the smaller photo books, these are the artist making photo books. So these were also sold at the venue for the corresponding concert. So we had one for Last Night, Hyper, and 2017 SS. And the quality for the Hyper and 2017 SS is similar to the Galaxy of 2 p.m. Making photo book I mentioned earlier. The Last Night artist making photo book is much thinner, but the page quality is a little nicer, and it also comes with a DVD with some behind the scene footage. And then the last photo book on this page with the cats on it was something that was a photo book comprised of photos of Juno's cats. And he's featured in some of those selfie photos that he took himself, and it's just kind of a cute little arrangement that really just showcases Juno's love for his cats. And I believe this was sold at his Hyper concert. And the last things I have exclusive for Juno are his Japanese fan club photo books. So these are referred to as the Traveling Alone photo books, and he's released 2 so far. And they're just really nice, high quality photo books of him shot at different locations, and they both come with some behind the scenes DVDs. Then to the right are my concert DVDs for him. Right now he has 4, excluding the Last Night concert DVD that was included in his 2017 SS LP-sized repackaged album. And so I'm missing his second tour feel. But I do have his Kimi no Koe, Last Night, and Hyper Tour concert DVD there. So these are all the Junkei solo things that I currently own, and I do have a couple holes, so I will mention those as I go through these. But starting with his Korean discography, on the upper left you have his Korean debut, which he released back in 2016. So that's his first Korean mini album. And then next to that is his special Korean album he released the beginning of 2017. And his latest release is his My 20s second Korean mini album. So like with the other 2 p.m. members, most of Junkei's solo work is actually released in Japan. Starting with Love and Hate, which is on the lower left. So the packaging for this release is slightly different from Juno's, but you do have a box set, and this is the box set container, and all the jewel cases are his versions A, B, and the regular edition, which again, song-wise and content-wise, are consistent with what Juno has released for his mini albums. But instead of an LP-sized version, like Juno, Junkei released instead these bare brick versions, which you see below the box set. So these bare brick editions just contain the limited version A, so the CD DVD version of his mini album, but it comes with a bare brick that he designed himself. Like with Junho's Feel mini album, he also released a Korean edition for this album, which I have at the bottom there. So it's just like the Japanese regular CD version, but it comes with the Korean version of No Love as a bonus track. And like for some of Juno's mini album releases, Junkei also had an artist making book with a similar format for Love and Hate. And then his second Japanese mini album is called Love Letter, and this again has a similar packaging as Love and Hate, except I do not own the box set for this yet. Right now I just have version A, so the CD DVD version, and the regular version there. And that box you see with that sort of wedding portrait with Junkei and this panda bride is actually the special version for his Bear Brick edition. So I'll open that and show you what it looks like inside. So this was what was inside that box. So again, it's just like with his Love and Hate Bear Brick version. You have the limited version A CD DVD version, just with a Bear Brick that Minjun designed himself. So the special box for that Bear Brick one, I think you can only buy through fan club. I'm not too sure, but I know that if you were to order on Japanese websites for a new version for the Bear Brick edition, you won't be getting that box. This also had an artist making book, which you see at the bottom there. And again, it's a similar format as all the other 2PM artist making books. And then his last Japanese mini album called No Shadow. I have all the versions here, so I do have the box set, and then the version A, B, and regular edition, and also the Bear Brick version there. And it also has the artist making book there as well. And then the last couple things I own for Minjun is I have both of his Japanese solo concert DVDs. And again, these are the limited edition versions, so they come with a photo book as well as a bonus DVD. I'm missing his first Japanese solo concert DVD, which I do plan on getting sometime soon. They're just a little harder to find, I think, for a good price used. Alright, so everything you see here is Woo Young's solo releases. And I'm going to start with his Korean releases. So he was the first one to come out with a Korean mini album. And so he did that with 23 male single. And there's two different versions you could get. You could get the silver version, which is on the far upper left, or the gold version, which is to the right of that. And then about 5.5 years later, he came out with his newest mini album called Bye, which is at the far top centered. And so those three albums are the only things he's released in Korea, with one exception, which I'll get into. Everything else are Japanese releases for the most part. So I'm going to start with his debut, which was the single Rose, which is in the section on the far bottom left. And so there were 4 different Japanese versions of this release, of which I own 3. And so the largest one, which is LP sized, similar to what Juno had for his LP size limited editions. It's actually not a vinyl LP, but it's an LP size packaging, so it has LP sized lyrics cards and a CD disc. The cool thing about that version is it comes with an additional song. So all the other versions you see there all come with just 3 tracks, while the LP size version comes with Know Your Shirts, which is the bonus song. So he also released 2 different digipack CD DVD versions. I only own one of them right now, what you see there, so that's version B. So there's a version A one, which I just put off buying because I want to buy the box set for this single release. And the only difference is the photo book contents, which again are just a couple pages with the lyrics, and the DVD content. It's a little different too. The far lower left jewel case is the CD regular version for the Japanese release, and the signed one onto the right of that is actually the Korean version of this Japanese single release. So that version comes with 3 of the Japanese songs that are on all the other versions, but it also comes with 2 bonus tracks with the Korean versions of Rose and Happy Birthday. So I have 2 other Rose related things. One is the artist making photo book. So this is just a photo book similar to the other photo books that I've talked about before. And I also have his limited edition concert DVD, which is in the same sort of packaging as 2PM's other Japanese DVDs. So it comes with a photo book and a bonus DVD disc. And so that's right next to his Bye mini album. So Rose was released back in 2015, and it wasn't until 2017 he came out with Party Shots, which was his first Japanese mini album, which I have clustered at the lower center. So this time he came out with 4 different versions for the Japanese release. So he had a vinyl LP version, so this wasn't the LP sized CD, but an actual vinyl LP disc. You could play on a turntable. And also the box set is consistent with what Juno and Junkei had. So you have 3 different jewel cases I have there, which all conveniently fit inside the box set. And again, the structure of this mini album is similar to Junkei's and Juno's. And then later that year, he released his second Japanese mini album, Matabokawa, which is here on the far right. And the packaging is consistent with what he did with Party Shots. So you have the vinyl LP version and the box set containing the limited editions A and B, as well as the regular CD jewel cases. But what was special about this release is that he also released a fan club exclusive version, which is right there. So this is the version you can only buy through their Japanese fan club, and it came with a bonus live track as well as a bonus DVD. So I realized I forgot to put the DVD for this last item, but he came out with a photo book, which you can only buy through his Japanese fan club. And so this is his Traveling Alone photo book, which I've done an unboxing on my channel if you're curious of what the contents are. And it also came with kind of a behind the scenes DVD. And now for Taecyeon's solo things. So he's only put out 1 special Japanese full-length album. And the packaging for this release is actually a little different than the other 2PM members. His box set box, which is here, is a nice hard cardboard, while the other ones are much more flimsy and thin. And his 2 limited versions, so version A, B, are in these nice hard covered digipacks. And he did release his Japanese concert DVD and Blu-ray recently. So I do have his limited edition Blu-ray version. So I've kind of switched to getting Blu-ray versions because they have similar packaging to the limited edition DVD versions. But Blu-ray discs are, of course, much nicer. And the nice thing about these is that region codes are much more flexible for Blu-ray discs. You can watch this on a region A Blu-ray player, which a lot of countries fall under, including, for me, the US. Whereas the region 2 DVD discs are much more restrictive. And then he has 2 different photo books. So the one on the upper left is his Lonely Oak Cats Christmas event that he had in 2016. Just a little brochure he had for that fan event he hosted. And the other photo book is basically like his Traveling Alone photo book, but they're calling this his Gourmet photo book, which is his fan club Japanese hottest photo book that was released. It's him touring and eating at Japanese restaurants. And like the other Traveling Alone photo books, it also comes with DVD discs. And now for the last solo official things that I own. I have these 2 photo books for Chansung. Yes, my collection is rather lacking, unfortunately. But for Chansung, I do have his Traveling Alone photo book and DVD, which I did do an unboxing on my channel. And he also has participated in a lot of musicals. So I do have his Altar Boys musical brochure. And he's been in a few other musicals with brochures, and he has more projects planned, so hopefully his solo stuff will grow along with Nikun's. And here is my very small After PM collection. So I did make a video elaborating more about all the dramas and DVD merchandise I own in another video. But you'll see on my spreadsheet I am missing quite a few OSTs and DVDs and whatnot from all the acting things that 2PM has done. And I'm going to wrap up this video showing you guys the 2 slogans I own, as well as 2PM's latest light stick that I also own. So thank you for watching this video. I hope it was useful. I know it was long, but remember to check out the spreadsheet I made down in the description if you have any questions regarding what 2 p.m. albums and DVDs and whatnot are available at the time of this video has been posted. I'm sure when people revisit this video, there'll be a lot more things released. And so I won't have that probably updated. But once this collection continues growing, I will most likely make updates because the rate at which 2 p.m. are putting out things, despite their group hiatus, is a little crazy. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and bye.